what do you need to eat in a day to actually support your gut health and your gut microbiome? What are some of the biggest mistakes people are making when it comes to supporting their gut health? And how did I get rid of my bloating and IBS once and for all? Let's dive in and find out. That's why I love the gut microbiome, and that's also why I think you should too. Just give your guts a whole lot of love. Oh dear, what's the God? Sorting out my gut health was really what got me into all of this. It's really how I began learning and discovering that the food I ate really impacted my life, my day-to-day well-being, and my gut health. So for me, I love the gut microbiome. I love helping my clients with gut health because that's really what was my entry point. And while I'm making some food in the background, I want to just share a little bit with you because that's kind of what really brought me into this. Is that since I was a child, I'd really struggled with so many gut issues. I remember going to a pediatrician as a child for random stomach pain, gut pain issues, and they couldn't really tell me why. I was probably about 9 or 10 at the time. And that continued to by the time I was about 15 or 16, the doctors saying I had irritable bowel syndrome. And actually, I had a really great doctor at the time that suggested maybe removing dairy to see if that helped. And that did actually help. But I was really sensitive to dairy, to gluten. I was bloated a lot of the time. And then I really struggled also with bowel movements. I had a lot of bowel incontinence, which, I mean, it's a great way to kill your confidence as like a teenager and in your early 20s, and the anxiety that around your bowel movements. You know, if you've had boring, you probably don't even think about poo, and great, you shouldn't. But if you've ever had bowel issues, whether it's like constipation and you need the toilet but you can't go and you spend like 45 minutes trying to leave the house, going onto the toilet like 10 times, or you have loose stools, diarrhea that you're just scared you're gonna basically like poop yourself out in public, you create so much anxiety around that, and it really impacts your social life, it impacts your confidence, impacts how you show up in the world. I also got joint pain, my hormones were like a mess and all over the place, and I was just at the point when I was like early 20s and thinking, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. Surely I don't need to spend the next 70 years like managing my symptoms, carrying spare pants around with me everywhere I go, Googling new locations to check where the toilets are, like constantly having to go to like any new location I went to, I'd scan and try and see if is there any trees, is there a public toilet? You know, I'd say no to things because of pain, and then I got joint pain, and that meant I couldn't run, I couldn't climb up mountains, all these things that I loved. And it was just really debilitating. And I went to doctors. They thought I had celiac disease. They thought I had Crohn's disease. I also got a lot of joint pain, back pain, hip pain. So I had MRIs, and there was always fine. You know, I didn't have celiac disease, which I'm grateful for. I didn't have Crohn's disease, again, which I'm so grateful for. But I was still struggling on a day-to-day basis. And I was like, I don't want to live like this the rest of my life. And that's what really brought me down this road just for my own health journey. And I'm really learning how to cultivate and really change my gut microbiome, because the great thing that I tell my clients all the time about your gut microbiome is that actually it's really adaptable. It's a bit like a garden. Your gut microbiome is really open to change. You have a really fast cellular turnover rate in your gut microbiome. But also, if you use the metaphor of a garden, which I do all the time when talking about the gut microbiome, saying that your gut can't change is like you moving into a house and being like, well, this garden is awful. It's full of dog poo and trolleys and scrap and weeds. Oh, well, it can never change. Nothing about my garden. I'll never have a nice garden. It'll never have flowers. I'll never be able to grow vegetables. I'll never have a lawn. I'm never going to be able to sunbathe. Good. Like if someone said that to you who just moved into a house, you'd be like, you crazy. Like, just get rid of the dog poo and put the trolleys in the skip and clean up your garden, and then over time, you can cultivate. You could cultivate like an award-winning garden if you really want to. And the same is with your gut microbiome. Even if you've had IBS since you were like 12 years old, like me, even if you have like the worst bowel movements, even if you say have irritable bowel disease, you can still learn to really support the body and create a healthy, diverse, beautiful garden, aka gut microbiome. And that's what really drove me into this. And after several years of doing this on my own and doing all the research, that's actually when I decided, let's go back to uni, do my postgraduate, nutritional science and practice, and clinical skills and all of these kinds of things. Because I was like, wow, like how did I not know this? And like, it's one of those sliding doors moments. What if I just accepted that I was just going to poop my pants, feel awful, and be really limited? Like, it would affect my life so much. And I just don't want anybody else to feel that way. We get so used to things being air quotes normal. Like, it's just normal to have diarrhea. It's normal to poo every 4 days. It's normal to be bloated all the time. And while it's common, it's actually not normal. And I think we really forget or tune out or disconnect or disassociate from how much those symptoms impact our confidence, our relationships, our careers, our day-to-day life, and how used to our limitations we get, how used to that we get, if that makes sense. So anyway, for me, this whole journey really started with the gut microbiome, and I love helping people transform it because it's so ripe for change. And also, I'm really strategic. So I love how strategic it is to work on the gut microbiome, because there's a part of me that likes things to be really efficient and really strategic. I don't want to waste time doing stuff that only kind of works. But when you improve the gut microbiome, that is one of the foundational things that actually improves so many other systems in your body. It really improves your hormones and your hormone balance, your brain health and mental health, your skin health, your immune system, your neurotransmitters, all of these things. When you improve your gut health and when you improve the gut microbiome, then the ROI, the return of the investment, the return you see on just focusing on this one area is actually really tenfold. And that's why I love it so much. It's because then you can do less to see more results. Or said another way, when you get the foundation right, if you can work on your gut microbiome, then everything else in your body is going to benefit. Even your sleep, even your body composition. That's what we're discovering in the research, that even if you're wanting to reduce your body fat, your gut microbiome plays a role. If you want to improve your sleep, your gut microbiome plays a role. So that's why I love the gut microbiome. And that's also why I think you should too. Just give your guts a whole lot of love. Oh dear, what's my God? So what do I eat in a day to support my gut microbiome? And is the food that we eat the only factor in cultivating a healthy microbiome? That's what we're going to dive into. So this is about 6:15 in the morning. I've decided to make some gluten-free bread. At the beginning of the year, I really set the intention of buying less gluten-free processed foods. I never used to eat gluten-free processed foods, but when I had twins and I had 3 kids under 2, they slowly crept in. So 2025 is the year that I committed to doing one thing, and that one thing was making fresh gluten-free bread every single week. So we'd run out. This is a Friday morning. I'm up early, so I'm just getting a really quick yeasted loaf together. I follow Dove's flour yeasted recipe loaf, so it's really easy. I know it off by heart. I'm still kind of half asleep, so I'm just gathering this together to get it ready so that hopefully by the time the kids get up, there might be some fresh bread. And it's hard not to feel like a total domestic goddess when you are making bread from scratch. When it comes to the gut microbiome and making food choices, you can get really overwhelmed by it and you can really overcomplicate it. From my perspective now, once you have got the system of digestion optimized, which I'm going to talk about later on, once you have that system optimized, your focus is then on quality foods. Your focus then becomes on getting high fiber foods each day. So that's what I'm doing here. And that's why I wanted to shift from buying really processed gluten-free bread filled with lots of oils and fillers and things I don't know, to a bread where I know every single ingredient. There's flour, there's yeast, there's milk, There's egg whites. I've added extra seeds into this, or sometimes I add extra psyllium husk to increase the fiber. And I know each ingredient that is going in there so that I can ensure that it's really good quality and also as optimal amount of fiber as possible going in. This is also when I've realized I've run out of oil. And so I'm going to go and quickly melt some butter because this bread requires about 3 tablespoons of oil. So this is me going and melting some butter. And also, the astute of you will have realized my 90 is on inside out. I literally am only realizing this now as I am editing the video. So this truly is 6 o'clock in the morning, people. Unfiltered, real life living. I can't even get my pajamas on the right way around. So, but I can make bread from scratch. So, we can't be good at everything, can we? Then I go upstairs with a herbal tea, roll up my yoga mat, do a really quick morning wake up stretch and a little bit of yoga and a short meditation with my various beverages before tackling breakfast. Then it's morning time, so I am making porridge and eggs for the kids. Then for myself, I know I am planning on trying to attempt a longer run. So for me, that means an hour long of running. I have been injured. And so I haven't done a long run in a while. So I'm actually wanting to intentionally try and eat more carbs and have some more readily available sugars this morning. So I've got some granola, which I don't normally eat, shop bought granola, but it is a great source of fiber. I'm also adding some whey protein powder to it. I've got a little bit of goat's milk, and then I am adding a bunch of yogurt to make sure I get a good amount of easily accessible carbs and a good amount of protein so that I don't really get myself into a really highly catabolic state in that hour long running. So I'm having yogurt, I've got my granola, I've got my protein in there. My little hands are trying to steal it from me. I managed to keep them away from my breakfast. And I know that when I eat this, I'm going to give about an hour and a half, and then I'm going to attempt to do a longer run, which I haven't done for a while. So I'm excited. Here is that loaf of bread out of the oven. It looks pretty majestic, doesn't it? So I'll leave that to cool. I didn't get it out in time for the kids to have it. So I'm just gonna let it cool and have it post run. Now it's time to go for a run. So I hurt my tendon in my leg a couple of months ago when I was climbing Ben Nevis. Long story, but today is a beautiful weather day. I'm going to start a run with one of my friends, and then if I'm feeling good and my injury is feeling totally manageable, I'm going to try and run for about an hour. Now, I'm a slow runner, so an hour's running is maybe, I don't know, like 9K. I don't really track things. I don't really do all of that when it comes to running. My focus on running is the joy, it's the somatic movement, it's releasing emotion, it's being outside, it's being on my own. I do wear barefoot shoes because that really helps with my hip and back injury. And you'll see at the beginning, I put some jelly babies into my backpack just in case I run for more than 45, 50 minutes. Once I get to that point, I really know that I need to have some extra carbs, a couple of jelly babies, getting some sun cream on. This often doesn't need to happen in Scotland. It's a rare occasion that I'm going for a run and I'm putting sun cream on. Honestly, this never happens. But I've got water, I've got electrolytes in my backpack, I've got a couple of jelly babies. You can also see that flapjack bar. That's kind of my backup emergency. In case I get so inspired that I just want to run for like 90 minutes, then I'm prepared. So I've got my barefoot shoes on and I'm ready to go. And I'm really lucky that I live very close to some beautiful scenery. So I've just spent ages running up a hill and by a loch, having a couple of jelly babies because I'm feeling good. And I know I'm going to go for probably about an hour, maybe an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 10 minutes. And just taking in the glorious views and so grateful that my body can do this. Then I get home and I need to refuel pretty quickly. So, but handily, I've prepared this earlier. So I'm just, before I even get showered, I'm making sure I get a little bit of carbs in. So I have got my bread and I've got some homemade jam that I'm going to share the recipe with you in a second because it is the easiest thing in the world.
And I'm just going to have a little bit of bread and jam just so that I can get some immediate fuel in because I'm already feeling a little bit hungry. And I have learned from my mistakes that after I do longer, intense exercise for longer than an hour, the quicker I refuel, the better I recover, and just the better I feel overall. So something that your gut health loves is fiber, which most of us know about, but it's also polyphenols, and berries, especially mixed berries, dark berries like these currants and blackberries here, are great sources of both fiber and polyphenols. So I make this chia jam recipe really regularly for me and the kids. It's like the laziest fake jam recipe that you can have that I add chia seeds to, which also adds some omega-3 and some protein and even extra fiber. And it's just the easiest thing. I take mixed berries, I put them in the hob, I cook them for a while, then I add chia seeds to it, a little bit of stevia or honey to sweeten it, and then I put it in a jar, and voila, that's it. That's the recipe. It'll last for a couple of days in the fridge and dollop it on yogurt, on toast, on anything. It's a great way to support your gut microbiome. So, when it comes to gut health, there are really two steps or two layers to consider. The first one is a very basic layer, and this might be some of you watching, is where you just want to know what to eat to really support your gut microbiome. Like, you don't have any major problems with it, but you're aware that it's important. And so, what actually can you eat? That's the first part. And then the second part is when there's deeper digestive issues, there's long-term IBS, chronic constipation, bowel issues, and maybe more irritable bowel diseases, these kind of things, which is often what I work with my clients around. And I'm going to touch a little bit on that second part in this video. Oh, I'm going to touch on both of them, but I think it's really, really important to not just focus on the foods to eat to help your microbiome. You first need to get your microbiome in a place that is really healthy. Because, for example, eating fiber, we know that eating fiber is good for your gut microbiome. But many clients that I work with, if I tell them to suddenly start eating loads more kale, cauliflower, seeds, psyllium husk, these kind of things, that amount of fiber that they start eating actually is going to make their symptoms worse. They get more constipated, more diarrhea, more bloated, more brain fog because we haven't actually addressed the system, the digestive system. We've just started to load in more fiber. And I always describe added fiber to an inflamed digestive system a little bit like having a graze on your arm and then putting sandpaper over that graze. If there's inflammation within your intestines, if there is permeability there, if there is pockets of inflammation, imagine my arm is your intestine, and then you suddenly add roughage to this already inflamed intestine, it's going to be really irritating. Whereas if your intestinal lining is really healthy, you've got that healthy single cell layer, you've got some mucosal support there isn't pockets of inflammation, it's really healthy and got lots of diverse bacteria, it's helping it, then adding roughage actually can be really helpful. That's when you're going to get lots of the beneficial impacts of these different prebiotic fibers, for example. And this is what confuses a lot of people, is that they just start adding in more fiber or doing this gut healthy stuff, but they actually feel worse because they've never addressed some of the root causes of their digestive system. So I'm going to carry on talking about that, but I'm currently making my lunch, so bear with. So the food we eat does really matter when it comes to maintaining a healthy gut microbiome. That's true. But one of the biggest myths or mistakes or, I don't know, holes people get trapped in is often that they forget you first need to support the digestive system. We're not actually what we eat, we are what we digest. So You could be eating the healthiest food. You could be eating food that is homegrown from your own garden, from the land that you have tended to, and you don't eat any processed food potentially. But if your digestion isn't optimized, then you could be really struggling and your gut microbiome might be really inflamed because you're not digesting your food properly. Now, the food that we eat obviously impacts our digestive system, and the more processed foods or sugary foods you're going to eat, the more likelihood you are going to have of a more inflamed or out of balance gut microbiome. But it's not that black and white. It's a little bit more nuanced, and it really depends on your symptoms. But one of the easiest things to remember when it comes to gut health is you are what you digest, and optimizing your digestion, whether it's chemical digestion in your stomach, then the digestion within your small intestines, whether it's optimizing your bowel movements, so that final elimination part of digestion is on point, is really, really important. Then it's time for an afternoon snack. I've got some dark chocolate and a rooibos tea with goat milk. I am just revising for a genetics test that I'm about to sit, which I passed, by the way. So getting a bit of a dopamine support while I go through my notes before I do my nutrigenomics test. Then it is school pickup. It's a really hot day. The kids are in the garden. They are basically naked running around with the water hose on. So I've made some mango, air quotes, ice cream, which is just frozen mango blended with soy yogurt. It tastes really nice. And I think I add a little bit of collagen to that as well to add a little bit more protein for the kids. We just have this in the sun. This actually, I think, made me even more hungry. I wonder if it was too much of a blood sugar spike for me. So I was immediately hungry afterwards and had some popcorn that I made for me. I say me and the kids, but I mainly ate it. And then dinner, I tried to do at least one super easy dinner a week. So I did a Thai green curry. It's in the UK. It's a Charles Bingham ready meal. Decent amount of fiber in there, but not amazing. So I also cooked some broccoli and extra veg. Whenever I do meals like this, I always add extra veg because it's very minimal. And then in the evening, Friday evening, kids are in bed. I had a whole variety of chocolates going on, which is not unusual for me.
So that is a day of eating and a snapshot of what I do in a day to really support my gut microbiome. You can tell today wasn't the perfect day of eating. Didn't get every single thing right. You know, jelly babies aren't necessarily a gut microbiome loving food, but it's the habits and the things that I add into my days that I think really matters. It's trying to get in more fiber where I can, things like polyphenols, and really making sure I choose quality food over convenience, more processed food. And also, the main thing when it comes to supporting your gut microbiome is making sure you support the system, the entire system of your gut, not just trying to eat some berries and hope that will fix your IBS. It won't until you actually address the root cause of your digestive symptoms. That's really the only way you're going to see massive and make massive progress when it comes to bloating and IBS. It's not just adding in more fiber, it's actually dealing with the real problem that is your digestive system overall. And that's what I've done, that's what I've helped my clients done. And this is a bit of a video that's hopefully giving you a bit of a snapshot in how you can do it too, because when you love your gut microbiome, it will love you back, big style. Okay, see you next week. Bye.